breakfast time. I've invited my friend Chef Steve back to the cottage. We're gonna do a whole bunch of different dishes with, it's all breakfast. It's all breakfast all the time, isn't it? And
there's nothing nicer than a good breakfast at the cottage.
Exactly. And you might have indulged in a nice bottle of wine or two the night before, so you wanna have something that, you know, kind of helps you out to get you kick-started, as it were, right?
Yeah.
Right? So you're gonna be making a frittata.
Yes.
I'm gonna teach you how to make a really simple and easy cinnamon bun. So I'm gonna get started on that. So
right.
I have 4 cups of flour. Did I ever tell you the story about how I got baking bread?
No, you haven't.
I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old.
That's pretty good.
I was 10 years old. And I'm bored one summer day, just kind of like, you know, something like this. And so my mom had 2 cookbooks, and her shelf was Food That Really Schmecks by Irma Stabler and Joy of Cooking, right? Because everybody had the Joy of Cooking. Yeah. So I took the Joy of Cooking out and looked at it and went through bread and I went, I can do this. Went to my local grocery store, picked up the ingredients and started making bread. Haven't looked back.
And now here you are.
Exactly.
All right. So while you're doing that, I'm going to mix the eggs.
So I put in 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to put in about a half a teaspoon of salt. And I have the fast acting yeast, so this takes half the time. So there's about 2 tablespoons in there. Now we're just going to stir this together, just like so. Now, if you have a stand mixer and you want to do it in the stand mixer, you can, but I kind of like when you can actually get in and feel the dough with your hands, right? So then I'm going to add some clarified butter. So I have probably a 1/4 cup of clarified butter, and that goes. And then some warm water, and this is just tepid water, so it's probably about 90 degrees. And we're going to stir that all in, just like so. And you just start seeing it's just a nice, and you want the dough to be sticky. A lot of people tend to kind of go away from a sticky dough. They make it really too dry, and then it makes the end product too dry. So we're just going to stir this together. Just like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to now take it, and then you don't even have to cover it because it's only going to let rise for about an hour. And we're just going to take our spoon out like so. Put it behind. A nice warm spot in the kitchen is always really good. And with the magic of TV and some timing, we have our dough that's already been done. So then what we're going to do here, this is where you can take the frustrations at the cottage. Just pound it down. And what you're doing is you're just taking all the air out of your dough. And then just going to grab it like this. And then we're just going to give it a quick knead in our hands. We just have some flour. Put our flour, just kind of give our dough just a little bit flour around. Our rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can use an empty wine bottle, right? They come in really handy. So the bottle that you used last night can now become your rolling pin. So we're just going to put flour, our rolling pin, just a little bit. You would do this with the wine bottle, and I'm just going to reach around and roll it out. Flip it over. Oh yeah. And you just know, like, it just, it's there's something about it. Sorry, I'm going to have to go over here. Again, you just want to stretch it out. Now, what I do is kind of like pizza dough, is just kind of move it with your hands like so. Roll it around. And now, it can be as thick as or thin as you like it. I like it a little bit thicker. We're going to take some of our clarified butter and grab a spoon, because not everybody has a pastry brush at the cottage. So you can just use a tablespoon. We're going to grab some of our clarified butter. And if you don't have clarified butter, you can use some just regular butter and just spread it on. And again, just like so, all the way around. Then I have some cinnamon, Now, you could put some black currants in, you could put some raisins in. We're just at a cottage that doesn't like raisins, so we're just going to go plain cinnamon bun. Which all that means is I forgot the raisins at home. Then we're going to take our brown sugar.
I remember as a kid doing toast in the morning and putting butter on it. While the butter was still melting, sprinkling the cinnamon on it and the sugar on it. It was like...
It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Like heaven, yeah.
And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take it and we're going to fold it in. So nice and gently. And as you do this, the dough is going to get a little bit longer. As you can see. I'm just going to move this over. Sorry, Steve. Nice and tight. You want it really nice and tight because then you're not going to get any air bubbles in it.
And it will rise a bit more too, right?
Exactly.
Once you put it in the oven.
And just like so. And I have a baking sheet there. Now, I've greased the baking sheet just a little bit. I know it's a non-stick, but I always like to extra grease it. And then we're just going to put it in like so. If you don't have a muffin tin, you can use a regular baking sheet and just put it on there and cut them in circles. And they work perfect for you.
You could use a cake pan too.
Yep.
Cut them in like a square 8x8 cake pan and put them in side by side so they puff up nice. And you kind of get that nice rip too with the cake pan.
And you can just see, I'm just going to show you right there. That's what you want it all nice together. Oh, they smell good already. Now we're going to let them sit on the counter for about 10 minutes just for the dough to rest after what you've done to it. And there you have it. Simple, easy cinnamon buns. Like I said, we're going to take it and we're just going to put it behind us for right now. 5 to 10 minutes. We'll put it in a 350 degree oven. It's going to take about 25 minutes to bake, gently, nice and brown. And if you want the secret to know how to test your bread being done, tap it on. And if it sounds hollow to you, you know it's done. So Steve, you're going to show us how to make a frittata. Yes. Now, what is a frittata?
So basically, Italian in origin. It is basically an overly large omelet that's not kind of flipped. A crustless quiche, you could call it. A Western without the bread type idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So in my pan, I have some olive oil I like to use. Now, if you're using... I like to use the non-stick pans. I do with my students. It's easier for them to use than it is like a stainless steel or anything like that, because you really have to know how to work with those types of pans so the egg won't stick. And once egg sticks to something, you forget it.
Perfect.
Got to get somebody else to clean it up. Okay, so in here we have our vegetables.
So just some onions, peppers, and we have some yellow, red, and green peppers.
Yes.
But you could put anything in, from chorizo to anything you want.
Yes, you could.
Any of the leftovers. You know, if you want to put some pulled beef in it, or even some ground beef in it, you can put that in. This is what's so great about it. There's no real.
No. So that, now I am going to add some garlic.
Okay. Because we have to add some garlic.
Garlic goes in everything.
Right, exactly.
Goes in everything. Very healthy for you. Now I added the vegetables first. Always add the garlic second. Never add your garlic right away. The intense heat of the oil. There's a good likelihood that you'll burn your garlic, and you don't want that. So adding in the vegetables ahead of time will help lower that oil temperature, and then you can add your garlic after that.
Because there's really nothing worse than having burnt garlic.
It does spoil the flavor of the dish. And it just doesn't make it very appetizing for sure.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm just going to go back over and put my cinnamon buns in the oven. Just remember 350 degrees. We're going to put them in there for 25 minutes. Oh yeah, that's smelling amazing. We need smell-o-vision. You know, I've been saying this for 7 years now. I know this is our first year at the cottage, but we need to get smell-o-vision. What do you think?
I think you'd be able to retire. All right.
Yep.
So good and hot.
Yep.
All right. Now I'm going to add in my egg.
Okay.
So 12 eggs. To that, I'm going to add some fresh ground pepper, some salt.
Yep.
I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir.
It's always nice to whisk your eggs with a fork. There's something about that just it's fun.
I don't know what it is. It's old school.
Yeah, right? You're right.
It's old
You're so
school.
right.
So instead of just dumping it right into the
Yep.
center, I like to kind of go around the
Yep.
outside. Get your heat down.
Exactly.
You don't want to burn the egg.
I can take that for you.
Thank you. Okay. It's going to start basically cooking instantly. Again, the best thing for this is to have a really good non-stick pan so it does not stick to the pan. So you can get it out.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay, so this now is going to go into the oven and... Oh, geez, there's
Look
one
at
already made.
Just be careful, that's really hot.
Okay.
I'll put that there for you.
All right, I'm going to turn this off.
Okay.
So there you go. We have one already done, and as you can see, it's loose in the pan. It hasn't stuck to the bottom of the pan, which is very nice. Now we finished it with some nice old cheddar. You could use anything you want. You could use some smoked Gouda.
Right.
Some smoked cheese would be great on that. Anything you want. And again, you mentioned about the meat. This one we did put some chorizo in.
Yep.
That one was more of a vegetarian type option.
Perfect. And then don't forget that you can also serve this cold. So, for lunch or whatever you want, a quick snack after you've been water skiing.
Yeah.
Put that cold, amazing.
Yeah, with a salad, nice vinaigrette.
Yeah, perfect. And now, there's nothing like great home fries. Well, there's nothing like great home fries anytime, right?
Exactly.
So, years ago on McLean's magazine, and then Peter Zotsky, for those of you who are in my vintage and your vintage, will remember this talk show, Peter Zotsky on CBC. And Peter had a true appreciation for great food. So this recipe for home fries is from Peter Zotsky, okay?
All right.
So you're at the cottage and, you might not always have the, potatoes, ready and that type thing.
Right.
So you know what you want to do? You want to go to your local grocery store, and I know you're gonna die when I say this, okay? That a chef is actually saying this. You're going to go to your local grocery store, and you're going to find some tinned potatoes. So these were canned potatoes, sliced canned potatoes. They make the best home fries. Now I know, in a pinch, they make the best home fries.
For sure.
Because you're looking at me like, really, chef?
That's okay.
Can you throw this clarified butter in there for me? So we're going to put about 2 tablespoons of clarified butter in a pan. We have a seasoned cast iron here. And then I'm just going to quickly dice up the onions. Now, this does not have to be anything fancy at all. It can be nice and just a nice quick dice. We're going to get our pan, melt our butter. Sorry. I'm driving your car here, brother.
It's okay.
So we're going to melt our butter because when you want to fry something, you want the pan to be nice and hot, because what happens a lot of times, people put the pan on, then they put the onions in. You're actually steaming the onions, you're not frying them. And when you fry them, it brings the sugars right out of the onions, sweetens everything up, makes it taste that much better.
Much better flavor for sure.
So we're going to add in our onions, and you want to hear that sizzle. We're going to hit with a little bit of salt and pepper. And here, if you want, you can add a little bit of chipotle pepper if you want to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
You can add some paprika to it. So then we're going to saute up our onions for just a minute, and then we can go from there. Now, if you want, you tell me your Sunday morning story of how you do your potatoes.
Oh, I get up. I get up early. I go to the kitchen. I wash my potatoes.
Yeah.
I boil my potatoes. Cut them. I cut them and then boil them. Put them on a tray. Stick them outside to cool, and then I make my home fries in the morning. Yeah.
So either way, in a pinch, and not in a pinch, but if you're in a hurry, you don't want to spend a lot of time on this. This is a great way of doing it.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, you might have indulged the night before. I've been at
this would be easier than getting up early.
I've been at this cottage before, and some Amarone comes out. So we're going to put in our potatoes. Now this is just 2 cans of potatoes. We just literally drained the water off. We didn't put them in or rinse them or anything like that. And now we're going to let them go for 5 to 7 minutes, thereabouts, so that they start frying up. And okay, you can go as longer as you want. The crispier it gets, and that's what we're looking for. So put this behind. And away you go. I'm just going to show the folks just how easy this bread for the cinnamon dough, for the dough, as we were mentioning earlier.
Right.
This is like less than a half an hour, and you can just start seeing how it's starting to rise up really nicely, and then we'll punch it down and go from there. But I just want to show that. So while you're doing that,
Okay.
I'm going to make a hollandaise sauce.
Okay.
And
New school or old school?
This is new school. I don't do anything old school anymore, brother. So I'm going to grab my little kitchen food processor here. So we're going to get this together.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to do here is grab some eggs. And this is, everybody gets really scared, you know, and okay, backtrack just a little bit in the story that we're going to talk to you about, is both of us have done the clarified butter thing for our chefs years and years ago, where we do like 45 pounds, has 45 packages of butter, and you'd clarify it. And God help you if you burnt that or ruined it, you know? And the food costs and everything would go through the roof. You know, so this is a really simple way of doing it. I have some clarified butter, and you can buy this clarified butter at any grocery store now. It's called GHEE, GHEE. And what it is they do it for you. A lot of Indian recipes call for ghee, and they'll clarify it for you. So this is what's left. It's all the butter, oil, but no milk solids. So higher burning point is which we did put in with our potatoes there.
Yeah.
And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 egg yolks, and we're just going to split them. Now, I like using my fingers when I do this, but if you're kind of squirmish and you don't want to do it, you can just use your eggshells just to break them like so. And just kind of go back and forth, and then your egg goes in. Get rid of that. Wash our hands. Now, again, you know, Chef and I have been talking a lot off air, and you're telling me there's this great book out, kind of like, almost like scientists, really?
It's called The Science and Lore of the Kitchen. Not exactly too sure of the author, but it was a book that I read a number of years back, and it breaks down the science behind the foods and how they react with when heat is applied, how they react when an acid is applied. Talks about emulsifications, talks about all different kinds of things. It's a great book. If cooking is something that you're into, and as I say to my students, understanding how food works, what happens when you add that heat, what happens when you add that acidity, is going to make you a better cook in the long run.
Agreed. So we're going to take our hand blender. We're just going to puree this in. And then what we're going to do is take our clarified butter, and we're just going to add our clarified butter in. Now, years ago, when you're making hollandaise sauce, you'd have it over the stove, and sometimes it would get too hot and it'd separate, and then you'd have to add more egg yolk to it, and it's just a mess. So this is simple and easy. Again, the lemon, egg yolk, and then we're going to put in our butter. And literally in 30 seconds, you have a beautiful sauce.
You know how much time that would have saved me about 30 years ago?
You know how much time? Agreed. So then you just keep it aside. Clean this up. Now, while you're doing your home fries, and you can see that it's again, you're getting those great,
little sticky bits on the bottom.
And I love sticky bits because it's such a great chef term, isn't it? So we're going to check on our cinnamon buns. And they're just starting to do...
Oh, those look beautiful.
Yeah, we're still about 3 or 4 minutes away. You just want to brown it up nicer. And just as you can you just test it with your fingers and away you go.
Maybe I should check that.
The frittata's it's almost done.
Okay, good.
So, to make your poached eggs, this is again where the science
Yeah,
comes in.
yeah.
We have some boiling water, and you want the water to be a gentle boil. You want it to have a little bit of rippling going on, because if you don't, when you put the egg in, it cools it down too quickly, and then it makes your soft-boiled egg really hard to get out and not friendly at all. So we have our water. It's coming up to a nice gentle boil here. Again, you don't want a rapid boil because then it'll cook too soon.
Right.
That just like nice, gentle.
And you added some vinegar?
Some vinegar. And that's going to help
Coagulate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your egg white and make it nice and firm.
It's going to help bring the egg together. If you don't add your acid to the water, when you crack the egg in, it'll basically the white will look like a wispy cloud just floating around in nowhere land. But that vinegar helps keep it together for sure.
Perfect. Okay, so your home fries are getting ready.
Yes.
We have our eggs to poach.
Okay.
We have the vinegar in the water.
Right.
You know, we've talked a little bit about, stirring the water and putting it in the middle. But, because I am new school, where did I just put them?
Right here.
Okay. We have some that we're going to put in, and we're going to try and see how these all turn out.
Okay.
You're going to do old school. I'm
going to do old school. So I had a bowl.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, brother, this is.
Oh, wow.
This is going to be cool.
Okay. So one thing like I was talking about earlier is that I swirl the water around. So take your egg, crack it into your bowl, and then, well, we really can't swirl it now because your two are in there, but spin your water around and then drop your egg kind of into that center, into that vortex, and that'll help keep the egg from sitting on the bottom and actually sticking.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than trying to take it out and then you can't get it out. And
Right,
it's
right.
horrible.
So even after I put it in, if I don't spin it, so right now all I'm doing is I'm just trying to lift it off the bottom of the pan and move it around a little. So again, it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan.
Okay, so we're getting ready to get to the table.
Okay.
We have our plates here. You have your home fries. We have our beautiful Hollandaise sauce made the new school way.
Okay.
And then we also have our cinnamon buns. So I'll grab those out. Put those down in front. See how easy they come out? And just turn it over. It's got all that butter and the cinnamon. And it's not cooperating. If you want to put some home fries on there. I know a lot of people sometimes use English muffins. We're just going to use this potato scallion bun that we had left over.
Right.
And then, to dress this up a little bit, one of our great sponsors is Pillars, and we got some of their charcuterie Westphalian ham, which is smoked prosciutto, right? Everybody puts, back bacon on and that, but let's take it up another notch or two, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna put our smoked prosciutto on here. You gotta try that, just try that. How good is that? Right? Do you wanna cut a little bit of our frittata out?
Okay.
Steve's beautiful old school way of doing it. Look at that. That is a perfect poached egg right there. Take a little bit of our Hollandaise sauce over top of that.
This is the morning after breakfast.
It truly is. This is where the music plays.
One thing we should talk about too is that when you're adding your vinegar to the water, don't add too much vinegar.
No.
Or else you'll have a really tough poached egg, and of course it'll take on that flavor of the vinegar too. So be very careful of how much vinegar you're putting in. You really don't need a lot of vinegar.
Chef,
Thank
it's
you
always a
very much.
pleasure having you on the show.
Oh,
It's great to be at the cottage.
great time.